Hi there, everyone, and welcome to another Lab Wednesday session. I'm Ms. Tucker, one of our College and Career Readiness Educational Associates at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School and with Baltimore City Public Schools. And I'll pass it over to my colleague to introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Inez Ford, and I'm an Ed Associate at Mervo High School. Thank you for joining us.
And today we're going to be talking about how to analyze a financial aid award letter. We're helping all of our students, those great seniors, and our families make informed decisions about financial aid and college selection. So let's go ahead and get started.
All righty.
So our objectives today, we're going to talk briefly about types of financial aid, identifying the different sources of financial aid funding for college. We're going to analyze some sample financial aid packages so that you can get familiar with the language and the form. We're going to look at some award letters, and then we're going to talk about what's coming up next. So very briefly, what is financial aid? Financial aid, very simply, is any money that you receive from an institution to pay for your education. So we'll talk a little bit about types of financial aid, which include loans, grants, scholarships. These are all things that you use to pay for your college education. And again, different types of financial aid that you will find on your award letter, or something that you might hear very frequently is called an SAR, or student aid report. You're going to find grants. So grants are money that you receive for your educational expenses that you do not have to pay back. Really, literally, it's free money, and it's usually given by the federal government or the state government. So you'll hear things like, oh, I got my Pell Grant. That's a certain amount of money that you don't have to give back to the state or the federal government. You'll also hear about scholarships. Scholarships can be given on behalf of the institution, meaning the college or university. They also can be given privately from any sort of scholarship foundations or any of your D9 organizations, any churches. A lot of those institutions offer student scholarships on their own. And again, those don't have to be paid back either. So those are the two that you really want: scholarships and grants. Thirdly, there's something called work study. So work study is a government program that gives students an opportunity to work, hence work study, on campus for money. And it says that money from work study should not count for billable expenses, okay? And lastly, there are loans. You'll hear a lot about that when we have our financial aid college conversation. So loans are money that do have to be repaid to your federal or state government, or to the school directly, or maybe even from a private organization if you choose to take out loans, through a bank or any other sort of program. So those are the four different types of financial aid that we're going to talk about, and we're going to analyze on our financial aid letters: grants, scholarships, work study, and loans. And I'll pass it over to Ms. Ford to talk about how much is too much for our student loans.
Okay, and I know even the topic of student loans are very controversial, so we just want to talk a little bit about that and give you some information. According to the U.S. News and World Report, college graduates from the class of 2020, their amount of student loan debt was about $30,000 a year. And so if you finish in 4 years, that's about $7,500. Many students are taking 5 years. So we just say if you divide $30,000 by 5, that's $6,000. So just as kind of a heads up, as you're looking at different financial aid award letters, we would recommend that, not recommend, just keep in mind the $6,000 is the average. If you need to borrow more than $6,000 a year to attend a certain school, you are going over the national average. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. We just want you to be aware. If that school has maybe an amazing opportunity that other schools don't have, well, that's your dream school, or just, that's up to you, the individual. But just kind of keep in mind that 6,000 is the number you really don't want to go above in terms of student loans. And of course, the next question, if you go to the next slide, is really what does that look like? If I take out $30,000 in student loans, you can see in the next slide, that's going to give you about a $400 a month payment. And so $400 a month is a lot of money. But when we look at numbers, if you're according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, in the end of 2019, full-time employees aged 25 and up with a high school diploma earn $2,996 a month versus $5,124 a month for somebody with the actual with a bachelor's degree, right? So that's a $2,128 difference, right? So on average, for people 25 and up, someone with a college degree earns $2,128 a month more than somebody with a high school diploma. Now, keep in mind, when they're saying a high school diploma, they're not like if somebody goes to, let's say they get an apprenticeship, a plumber, they do a plumber apprenticeship. That's additional training. So you have more than a high school diploma. If you join an electrician apprenticeship, that's also additional training. You become a cosmetologist. So they're not talking about, this statistic is specifically talking about people who graduated from high school and didn't get any additional training. So if that is the case, again, somebody with a college degree tends to earn $2,128 more a month. So if you're taking out a student loan, right? Let's say you finish with that average, you graduate with about $30,000 in debt, you're looking at a $400 a month payment. So you subtract 2,128 minus 400, and you're still looking at 1,728. Even with your student loan, you still would be making on average $1,728 more a month than somebody with a high school diploma and no additional training. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to make a decision. No one wants to take out student loans, but sometimes if you can keep them to a minimum, they're worth it. So again, if you were to take out $30,000, it's going to cost you about $400 a month over the course of 10 years. Okay. And so we'll go into a little bit more, but just like I said, we just wanted to explain that. And if you look at the next slide, what is a financial aid award letter? A financial aid award letter or a financial aid package, people use the term interchangeably, but it really is just a letter you will get from every school that you get accepted into, assuming you put that school in your FAFSA, that's going to lay out all the financial aid you get. So if you get accepted to Howard University, you're going to get a financial aid award letter from Howard University that says, we're going to give you a $5,000 scholarship, this Pell Grant, this money, that money, this student loan. So it just lists everything that they're going to give you. Okay. And if you decide, and also if you've already submitted your FAFSA and you decided, like maybe recently you decided to do a college application, please make sure you go back into FAFSA and add the schools that you've applied to your FAFSA so that you can get an award letter. Okay. So before we go into, and we can go to the next slide, we want to talk not eventually, but we are going to talk a little bit about like the different language that you have to understand. How do you analyze the financial aid award letters that you receive? So we're going to talk about it, like 2 or 3 terms you need to know, and then we're going to do some analyzation, okay?
Quick question. If I'm a high school senior, am I standing by the mailbox expecting to receive a physical financial aid award letter, or should I log into a student portal?
That's a great question. Old school, back in the day, you used to get a letter in the mail. Now you have to log into your student portal. So they're not going to send it to your Gmail. If you get accepted into Howard, you're going to have to go into your Bison student portal, and see the financial aid award letter and decide what you're going to accept. If you get accepted into Maryland, you're going to have to go to testudo.umd.edu and see exactly what you've been given. So you have to create a student portal, and you have to go into your account to see your award letter.
Definitely. And this is an important note for our seniors and even our families. This is one of those points where responsibility kind of comes in. So you have to be the person logging into your student portal, because your parent doesn't have the student portal. You're the one going to college, right? So you have to be the person monitoring those communications that are coming in and sharing that information with your family. Okay. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more.
Okay. So
Here's
some
some
important
terms.
financial aid terms. The cost of attendance. You'll hear people talk about COA, and that's just basically how much it costs to attend the school. That's tuition, that's fees, that's anything associated with attending the college. Expected family contribution, that's the amount of money a student's family is expected to contribute to their education based on the information that's listed on FAFSA. That's why when you fill out your financial aid forms, you have to give information about your parents' financial status, like how much money they make. That's because the whole point of that is to figure out your EFC. So obviously, your EFC can be 0 and it can go up into the millions. I mean, if we were talking about the EFC of, I don't know, think of somebody famous. If we're talking about their kids, they literally could have $1 million EFC because how much money, I don't know, like the Obamas, for example, I'm sure they filled out the FAFSA for their children when they were going into college. But if you're worth a couple million, you literally could have $1 million EFC. The government may say you can contribute $1 million to your child's education, not that it will cost $1 million. If your parent maybe lost their job and it's 4 kids, and maybe mom is a single mom and she's not working, your EFC could be 0. So it can, and your EFC depends on that doesn't change regardless of what school you go to, because the government makes that determination. So if the government says your family can afford to pay $2,000 for you to go to college, it doesn't matter if you go to Howard, if you apply to College Park, Towson, Bowie, UMES, it doesn't matter. The government says your family should be able to afford $2,000. And we'll talk a little bit about why that's important. Financial aid award letter or package, people use it, it's the same thing. If someone says like, oh, look at your financial aid package, they're talking about your award letter. So a award letter package is the exact same thing. We went over grant, scholarships, work, study, and loans, so we won't talk about that again, but just keep in mind that these are some terms you're going to need to know when you look at your award letters. Okay, so when you're looking at an award letter, here are a few items you want to focus on. You want to look at your out-of-pocket expenses. And that's how much money, it's just how it says, how much money you have to come out of your pocket to attend. So you add up all the award that you were given, minus your parent loan. We'll talk about that. A parent loan is not guaranteed. You will not find out until July, August if your parent has been approved. So do not count on a parent loan. But you want to add up all your awards, subtract it from the cost of attendance, and that's how much you owe. For example, if a school costs $30,000 to attend and they gave you $29,000 worth of aid, then your out of pocket is $1,000 because it costs 30. They gave you 29. You've got to come out of pocket $1,000, and that's something you want to think about. Look at the loans that they offer you. Remember, we said that you don't want to go over 6,000. So you want to see how much loans. You want to really aim for 5, but I mean, honestly, you can do 6, but don't try your best not to go over $6,000 a year. But you want to see like how many loans, how much in loan money are you required to take out? Are your loans going to be subsidized or unsubsidized? And subsidized just means that the interest doesn't start until you graduate. Unsubsidized means as soon as you take out that loan, the interest starts. And so ideally you want to take out subsidized loans, and you want to look at scholarships and grant types and are they renewable? That's not always listed, but if Towson gives you a Towson University scholarship for $5,000, you want to get in contact with Towson and say, is it renewable? Because it's great that you gave me this money, but if I'm only getting this $5,000 my freshman year, but I'm not getting it sophomore, junior, and senior year, that's something that you want to think about. And it's not always listed on your award letter. So once you get an award letter and you're like, I'm kind of trying to decide between 2 schools, if they list a scholarship, get in contact with financial aid and see if that scholarship is renewable, because it makes a difference. Okay. So next we're going to look at we're going to give you some basic idea of what like you would see on an award letter. Then we're going to show you an actual award letter. So let's look at these 2 schools, right? Shaw University and Hampton University. Shaw University is in North Carolina, Hampton University is in Virginia. So if you go to these 2 schools, you do not get any Maryland student aid. That is why we highly recommend you apply to a public school in the state of Maryland, because you will see that there are no Maryland grants or scholarships listed on either one of these because they aren't Maryland schools. So if you look at Shaw University, and this is information hot off the press, next year it's going to cost $24,994. Obviously, we rounded up to 25 just to make the math easy. Hampton was right around like 39,000, so rounded up to 40. So let's say, all right, it costs 25,000 to go to Shaw. EFC is 1,000. That means that when this family filled out the FAFSA, the federal government has determined that they can pay $1,000 towards their cost of attendance. They can pay $1,000. The family can pay it. Should be able to pay $1,000 toward the cost of that child attending college. And why that's important is that some schools will not go above your EFC. So, for example, Shaw costs 25. If your EFC is 1,000. That means 25 from 1,000 is 24. So they really don't have to go above $24,000 in terms of financial aid. Sometimes they will, but the minimum that they have to give you in aid is 24,000. Same thing for Hampton. Hampton costs 40,000. EFC is 1,000. Hampton only has to give you 39,000. They may give you more, and that money can be in loans, but they've got to at least give you 39,000 because your EFC is 1,000. So let's look at Shaw University, right? Costs 25,000. Hampton costs 40. You can't just assume that Shaw is going to give you a better deal because it's only 25,000. You just have to see. So let's say Shaw University. This student got an SU scholarship for 6,500. Remember, you want to add up all your aid. They got an SU science department grant, so they're probably majored in some sort of science. They got 6,500 for that. So 65 and 65 is 13,000. They got a federal Pell Grant for 5,000. So now they're at 18,000. Now here's the loan part, right? We said don't go over 6,000. So they're at 18,000. They got a subsidized loan for $3,000. They got a federal unsubsidized loan for $3,000. Okay. So we got 13 plus 5 is 18, plus 3 is 21, plus 3 is 24. All right. Don't count a Parent Plus loan because you won't know until July if your parent is actually approved. It's based on credit. Now the total amount of aid is 27,000, but remember, don't take that Parent Plus load. That's 24. So if you look at this, right, they gave $24,000 worth of student aid, right? Worth of, if you took all the loans out, you have 25 minus the Parent Plus loan, you've got $24,000 worth of financial aid. Shaw cost you 25. That means your out of pocket is 1,000, and you had to take out 6,000 in loans. So again, 6,000 in loans, $1,000 out of pocket. Let's compare that to Hampton University. Hampton cost is 40,000, right? So they got an HU scholarship for 15,000. They got an HU minority and a sciences scholarship for another 15,000. So that's 30,000. They got a federal Pell Grant for 37,000, and they got a loan for 3,000, which is 4,000, right? 40,000. So if they took out all of this, they took out the $3,000 loan and they got all the scholarships. They don't have an out of pocket because this adds up to 40, and that's the cost. So for this student to go to Hampton, they don't have to pay anything. They have to take out a $3,000 loan, but they don't have to pay anything. If they go to Shaw University, they've got to take out $6,000 a loan, and they got to pay 1,000. So although Hampton is more expensive, Hampton is the better financial aid package. Okay. And let's look at the next slide, and we'll do the same thing just to give you an idea. So Bowie State, right? We rounded down, it's 24,000. And in this example, the EFC is 0. So this family put in their financial aid information, and they are unable to pay any money towards, according to the federal government, the family cannot afford to pay any money towards their child's education. And that happens. I've seen EFCs from 0, and I've seen EFCs as high as 150,000. It's just, just based on family circumstance. So you got Bowie State University, where this person got a scholarship for 7,000. All the scholarships are in red. They got a Maryland SEOG grant, and Bowie State is in Maryland, so they got some Maryland money. They got a federal Pell Grant. You put the two together, that's 20,000. They have to take out $8,000 in loans, 4,000 unsub, 4,000 sub, and their total. Remember, you don't count the Parent Plus loan, so their total is 28,000. All right, so they don't need, now this is 28,000, but Bowie only costs 24,000. So really they only need one loan. It's 4,000 subsidized loan, but they could take out another to cover expenses. And then you got UMBC. So they got a Meyerhoff scholarship. That's a real scholarship. You have to be majoring in sciences and have a certain GPA, and you can get between $10,000 and $25,000. So they got a Meyerhoff scholarship for 15. They got a Maryland SEOG grant for 7. That's 22. They got a federal Pell Grant. That's 28. And then and there you go right there. So they've got $28,000 in student and scholarship and grants. They don't even have to take out any loans, and the cost of attendance is 28. So UMBC is the better package, because to go to Bowie, they've at least got to take out $4,000 in loans. To go to UMBC, they don't have to take out any loans. So those are the things, and that's really what you want to do. You want to see how much loan money you have to take out. And if you can, you want to find out if any of the grants and scholarships are renewable. But that's really how you compare sample financial aid packages. And now we're going to show you what an actual financial aid award letter looks like. Okay. So if you click on this, you can see, and we're going to scroll down to page 2 and 3, you can see an actual example letter. Because the only difference is that the letters, when you get them, they divide them between they divide your aid between fall and spring semester. So if you get a $10,000 scholarship, but let's say they offer you an $8,000 loan. It's going to say 4,000 in the fall, 4,000 in the spring. If you get a $10,000 scholarship, 5,000 in the fall, 5,000 in the spring. And then it's usually going to ask you, how much of this are you going to accept? Because like an example for Bowie, that student got $8,000 worth of student loans, but they only needed 4. Maybe that student ideally would only accept the 4,000, but that student may say, you know what, I need a couple extra dollars. I might need to, maybe I live far away and I'm going to have to drive back and forth, or I need a laptop, I'm going to need book money. So you can take out more than what you need, but they're going to ask you, how much of this are you going to take out? Obviously, if it's a $10,000 scholarship, you don't have to pay that back. You're going to take all 10,000. But if it's a loan, it may say 5,000 and you may only need 2,000. So they're going to ask you, how much of that 5,000 do you want? You can take the full 5,000 or you can take 2,000. And so again, it's going to list it's going to list how much everything costs, how much the tuition is, how much the fees are, the books, the transportation. And then at the bottom where it says award summary, you can see the grants and you can see the loans. And it's going to ask you the fall, it's going to ask you the spring, and there'll be somewhere on the website where it's going to ask you how much do you want. So for example, this federal direct sub loan offered $112.42, there will be a place where this person can say how much of that $1,242 loan are they going to accept. So we just wanted to show you, and they look a little bit different, but this is pretty much what they look like. And this is what you have to go through. You want to add up again, everything, all the aid that you've offered and that you've been offered, and you want to figure out how much in student loans you need, and what's your cost of attendance. And try not to go over that $6,000 in student loans, okay? And if you have any questions, of course, please contact your counselor. You can contact us. You can contact your college bound rep if they're there. But we just wanted to give you an idea of like how to analyze financial aid award letters.
Definitely. I'm really glad we're looking at this one because there are a couple of things that stand out. Here you'll see where the fall term says 12 plus hours and spring term also says the same 12 plus hours. This means that this student is a full-time student. If you take less than a certain amount of credits, I believe it's usually like less than 12 or less than 9, you're considered a part-time student. And the caveat about that, sometimes if you say you're in your sophomore or junior year and you decide you kind of want to take a step back, maybe you have some family things going on, maybe you're working a little bit more, you want to take less classes. The only thing is sometimes that might invalidate you or make you ineligible rather for certain financial aid opportunities such as scholarships and grants. So that's something to keep in mind. Make sure that there are no stipulations around the types of aid that you are being offered. And the other thing you'll see here is language like the direct loan promissory note and direct loan entrance counseling. These are preliminary requirements that you have to complete in order for them to disperse those funds to you. So the promissory note is literally just a note of promise saying that I will pay this money back within whatever the terms are. And then the direct loan entrance counseling is usually like a orientation of sorts where someone explains all the things that we're saying to you again from the college's side. Making sure I didn't skip a slide. Is this good?
Yeah. Oh no, just your student portal. This is just a reminder to create one. Because they are not going to email you directly at your Gmail, your actual financial aid award letter. You've got to go into your student portal. So for every school you get accepted into, make sure you create that account and log in and see your financial aid, and that's how you accept your financial aid.
Certainly. So again, that speaks to that responsibility factor, guys. You're going into college for the first time now, so this is a really great time to take the lead and log into your student portals for all kinds of information because that's where they're going to be communicating with you. I don't think we have anything else for today. So if you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to Ms. Ford or myself. Our emails are linked here. And my college and career Instagram is also there. We're here to support you with all of your college and career going questions. So thanks for joining us today again.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your time.
Definitely. This was quick and easy. So send us an email or maybe a DM on my college and career IG if you have any questions. And also, like we said, reach out to your counselors. You have an entire community and village of people that are supporting you from the district down and to all of our schools. So make sure that you're utilizing all of the resources that you do have. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.